Been out on set today using my FC-03 Filmcity rig. If you're familiar with my videos, you'll have seen me play around with it a little bit, modify it slightly and try and improve it as I go. But today had a bit of a challenge. Today the location meant the rig was too big. The rig was too tall, so I had to do something to actually make it a bit more compact. And as you'll all be aware, it's a 9-inch cage rig, so it's quite tall, especially when you've got your handle on the top as well. It's quite large. So pretty much on the fly really, I tried to make it a little bit more compact. So the first thing that I did was obviously I did the obvious, and that was to remove the handle, which initially helped me out quite a lot. Gave me a good couple of inches in height. But that wasn't actually enough. I needed a bit more height. So I then looked at the possibility of lowering the top part of the cage. Now, I know by simply undoing the 2 screws on the cage itself that the top of the cage rotates and drops down quite nicely. So once I've removed the 2 screws on the side, the top portion then drops, and as you can see from the front, it drops down quite nicely, pretty much out of the way. What I wanted to do is I wanted to use the rig in this configuration somehow, because I like it that size and it fitted in my location. It gave me the headroom I needed, and it seemed like the way forward. The challenge was to see if we could make it so actually it stayed like that, and when I used the rig it didn't just lift up as it would naturally do. So had a bit of a think, scratched my head a bit, and then thought about the straight through rod that came with the rig, which I replaced out from my Z bracket you would see in the previous video. I took about looking at that one to see if we could utilise that part to try and support the top of the cage. So essentially what I've done is, the more astute of you will have noticed it already, I've actually attached that straight through part to the bottom rail. Once I've attached it to the bottom rail, I then rotated it up, and as if by magic, it's almost like it was meant to be, it is the exact length to attach to the top rod. So once I've attached it to the top rod, I'll then tighten my other parts. If I turn and face you, you will notice that the top of the rig is perfectly flat, and I mean perfectly flat. It's actually like it's meant to be. The rig also is incredibly robust now. I've got no worries doing that at all. You get a few creaks. It's made of plastic, it's going to creak. It's almost as sturdy as an aluminium unit which I've used previously. It isn't all hunky-dory. It's not the way forward completely. The main reason being the lens access has been restricted because you have this rod which naturally gets in the way of where your lens would slide. So effectively, if we want to remove the lens now, we have to just undo the matte box, move it forward, and then take the lens out the front, which as you can see isn't particularly a massive job. And likewise, when you reinstall, you have to do the same thing. But other than that, it's made the rig super stiff. I mean super stiff. So much so that as a compromise, I can live with that solely because it feels so much nicer in the hand. It's also a lot smaller. It's slightly less conspicuous, not that it's inconspicuous at all, because it's quite a chunky piece of kit. But as a natural progression for my rig, that's what I'm going to do, and it's going to stay like that, solely because it feels so much sturdier in the hand. If you've got one of these rigs, the FC-03, FC-02, you know that the top rig, you can move it, and if you mount a monitor on there, it can be a little bit flimsy. By doing this, you've pretty much eliminated that. You happy to do that with your standard rig? Probably not. So I'm more than happy. The rig itself, as you can see, is really sturdy. You can hold it by anything you like. I know it's quite light at the moment because it's only got a body in, but with the lens as well, it's pretty much the same. Thanks for watching.